Thank you all for joining us for Austin Film Festival, and thank you for joining us for this awards winning shorts presentation, our roundtable. Thank you for watching the shorts and digital series programs, and thank you to these filmmakers and creators for creating them. First of all, congratulations. You have won Austin Film Festival. Claps all around, claps all around. On our roundtable, my name is Alexandra Mitchell. I'm the interim film competition director and also the shorts programmer. On our roundtable, we have our narrative student jury winners. We have writer Indianna Bell and co-director Josiah Allen. They co-directed The Recordist.
Hey.
Thank you all for joining us. We have narrative student short jury winner, writer and director Adewale Olukayode, who did the short Home. We have our documentary short jury winner. We have co-director Rodrigo Hernandez and producer Po Si Teng with the short Blood on Our Side, which was also co-directed by Elpida Niku. Thank you all for joining us. For the produced digital series presented by Stage 13 jury winner, we have one of the writers, Jaroslav Miška, who did Marty is Dead, also with co-writer Jan Stelik. And then this year we had our Enderby Entertainment Fellowship Award. We're so excited to present this award this year with writer-director Emil Gallardo. And then she couldn't join us today, but we also want to celebrate our animated short jury winner, writer-director Eloise Fairley. So congrats to her as well. So to get started with our conversation, my first question, why this subject and why in this short format?
I chose the subject. I chose the subject from my film primarily because I felt like a disposable worker within the supermarket, in the supermarket system. I also chose the subject to highlight the experiences of Black immigrants who have to hold a dual identity of Blackness in America, but also an immigrant perspective as well. And yeah, that's why I chose the subject.
We've got a bit of a kind of funny origin story for our short film. So basically the film is about a sound recordist on a film set who's he's a sociopath and he listens into people's conversations on set, and in the film he listens into this young actress who's having an affair and uses the recording to blackmail her, basically. But we chose this topic in this story because we had the idea. We were on a completely different set earlier last year, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And there was basically a behind-the-scenes documentary being shot about the shoot itself. So we were mic'd up on set, which is the first time anything like that's happened. And so they had those little lapel mics that they put, tuck under your clothing and stuff that get hidden. And the sound recordist who was on set doing this, he has worked on many sets. Yeah. And he basically said to us, just remember that you're mic'd up, don't go to the bathroom and leave your mic on kind of thing, or have conversations. And it was kind of a funny topic, and I said to him, I bet you've overheard some pretty hilarious stuff over the years. And he was like, oh, you have no idea, celebrities on set and some of the things that they've said that he's overheard. And it kind of came to me that it could make quite a funny comedy film, someone overhears something they shouldn't, and they're, in this kind of situation where they're, in the wrong place at the wrong time, they know something they shouldn't know. But then also we kind of had the idea of it's actually quite a powerful position to be in, to be a sound recordist and to be listening into all of these private things. So we were like, we could go into a really dark area as well. So that's what we decided to explore, was kind of this, this really overlooked, really important job in the film industry that probably doesn't get enough credit, definitely doesn't get enough credit, in fact, because sound is so important in film. It's a position of surprising power. So that's where we wanted to explore. And I suppose we did it in short format because we're poor. So that's why.
So 1, 2, 3, all eyes on me. It's for anybody who's seen it already, it's a really intense film. about a mass shooting, specifically one that takes place at a school. And I just felt like we had kind of become numb to these events, and we stopped remembering that these are people, and even the people that physically survive are not okay. And I just felt like there was still a ton of room to create empathy for everybody, whether they're an adult or a child, if it's at a school, if it's at Walmart, like what happened in El Paso. I just felt like there was a lot of room for us to create more empathy and a deeper emotional understanding for the people that are in these situations. And I felt like it didn't need a feature. There's already been features on this subject. And I felt like the story that I want to tell could be done in 15 minutes. So that's what we did.
So I'm a Mexican filmmaker, and the last few years we have been working in all these topics about the violence there. But we were like kind of tired about talking only about the Mexican side and all that happened only in Mexico. So we started to talk with Poe about a way to tell a story about how there's like a huge circle, no, between this violence, no, and about how the United States affect also like the violence in Mexico. So we try to make Blood on Our Side thinking about this. No, we were following the story of a forensic team in Ciudad Juárez, but not only trying to understand like the difficulties of their work, because they don't have even enough time to pick all the bodies in their city, but also to trying to explain and reflect about this relation, no, in the border between the States and Mexico, and about how there's the profits goes to one side, but the dead people is in the other side.
And to add to that, I mean, we were really tired and frustrated, Rodrigo, Elpida, and I, with the rhetoric that was coming out from media in the United States that oversimplified what was going on. And, you know, I mean, I guess that all the rhetoric that's been coming out, like, really unfairly puts blame on immigrants, on Mexicans, on Central American immigrants, Latin Americans. So this was our way to sort of push back on that. And we decided to make a 25-minute film because it was more than enough to explore Anna's journey, Ana Lorena, the forensics investigator who leads her team in Juarez, and can't wait for everyone to see it.
Jaroslav?
Well, why the short format? No. Well, a few years ago, we just found with my co-writer Jan, which is not with us, and Pavel, who is director of Marty is Dead. We just found the hoax named Blue Whale, if you know it, and the Blue Whale is based on giving the tasks to the victim, and we just mix it with 5 or 6 really real cases of cyberbullying. And after that, we just realized how to give it to the teenagers, because the TV series Marta is Dead is suited for teenagers, and it should be comic, it should be game. But we found that best way is short format of 15 minutes because it's most dynamic and there's intensity.
So you all worked to create a short, but to create a very tight short. There's a reason why you guys were selected as the jury winners. But of course, that comes with challenges and successes, especially in the revision process. For pieces that are narrative, you have the revision process of the scripts, you have the revision process when you're on set and making the film, and you have the post-production revision process through the editing as well. Can you guys talk a little bit about the different stages of the process and some challenges and successes?
Well, I know that personally our film changed dramatically in each stage. And especially like there's one particular scene that I was really, really keen on because it was kind of like a bit of a showcase in the writing scene. There's a scene in a restaurant between Andrew, the sound recordist, and Amy, the young actress that he's blackmailing. And I had a lot of fun kind of writing quite a lengthy dialogue scene between the two of them. And it was a little bit kind of self-indulgent fun. And then when it came to the shooting of it was also really fun because we could kind of basically do it like a play. And we rehearsed that bit quite a bit. And so when it came together on the day when we were shooting it, I know I was really excited to hear it, all kind of happen in one go. But when it came to the editing, it became very evident that it was kind of this very...
Well, we just realised what the film was, which often happens in the edit.
Yeah.
So I think that we went in with the intentions of the short film is this big, long restaurant scene.
Yeah.
And the things before and after it are kind of setting up. Yeah. And we thought, you know, that might be an interesting structure. And it is still very weighted towards the restaurant scene. But yes, we just found in our early feedback that the kind of first half of the film moved so fast that the contrast was just a bit too much, and it just felt like a sudden stop. And everyone, you know, commented that the actors in the restaurant scene did amazing. It wasn't that they were bored by the performances or anything. It's just they didn't quite go together. So it was an interesting process of reshaping, refining what about the scene is important and what are the kind of extra frills that we love, but we didn't necessarily
weighing
need.
up, killing your darlings, that whole thing that they always say, like weighing up the frilly bits that you really like and think are fun versus what's actually needed to move the film along and make it work. And it's pretty amazing what you can do with a bit of editing. You know, we chopped up quite a bit of that restaurant scene and reshuffled things. So it still managed to work, which is lucky. Yeah.
On Indiana's point of like killing your darlings, usually the first draft of this was my film was 16 minutes, but the final draft is 12 minutes, and it all it took was basically taking out the beginning of a scene and taking out the ending of a scene. Usually when you, I think I'm probably the only one who makes this mistake where like I have a scene where the character walks in when you could just start with just the character already in the frame and just like having a regular conversation. So you start off there, then the last beat of like where we get the information where we need to get to the future scenes, we could just cut right there rather than just having a character. Whether I had my mistake of just having the character just walk out. It was a good task of like cutting the beginning and ending of every scene, and it's like just restructuring some scenes to make it fit the through line for me. It's like I have a through line, and if every scene doesn't fit my one statement, if anything, if I can cut this and you'll still understand what I'm trying to say, then I don't mind it not being there. In a scene of my film, I believe it's the second scene, in the basement, I wrote this like good dialogue. And it was just so much. It was like so much. And I was like, this is like too much. And like my DP at the time, Rasa Parton, said to me, he says, hey, we don't know how we're gonna cover this. We could just do this whole thing in one shot. And I was like, let's try it out. And then we just like, I blocked it. And I get like my like cues from like watching YouTube videos of like ballerina dances, like where they capture it on stage. Like there's usually a bad shot thing, but like you just know that like wherever they're going, you're blocking you or you're just following it. So I blocked the scene as if I was watching like a ballerina recital on stage, and we just saw the camera just move one time, and I was like, oh yeah, this is the scene. This is the scene I want to say. So we did a whole 2-page scene in one shot, and that's my big takeaway from that movie.
So I think for us, as Alex mentioned, we had kind of different challenges at each different phase. In the writing phase, I think trying to figure out how to end the film with hoping the audience would take away the message that we wanted them to. And then also in the writing phase, I interviewed a couple teachers, and one of the teachers mentioned how they have kind of 2 different intensities of lockdowns at their school based on where the threat is. And so when the threat is nearby, they lock the school down. But when the threat is on campus, like every single thing gets locked, and the teachers aren't permitted to let anybody in the classroom. And inevitably there's like some kids that are caught kind of in the middle. They're coming back from the bathroom, they got there late, whatever, and they just get locked out. And so in those situations, the custodian for the school will run around the entire campus looking for any stragglers and just throwing them in whatever room they can to keep them safe. And so that was a perspective that I thought, and a story and an angle on, people that we don't necessarily think of as heroes, and they're kind of forced into these situations where they could be the one person that saves the life of a child. And so that kind of became a subplot, and we wrote it into the script and we filmed it. And then in the editing process, we realized that as kind of impactful as that was, it was detracting from the main story, and we wanted to make it as potent as possible. So we ended up cutting that entire thing from the film.
So, I mean, for us, it was like an amazing experience to work with Paul, because he has like a lot of knowledge about all this, and for us, it was like very important to have like an external view of what are you doing now, because sometimes in the documentary, when you are like so deeply involved in one topic and you're like following the story and you're following this topic, sometimes it's very difficult to realize that maybe you are losing a little bit the focus of the storytelling or of the narrative, no? Because you want to tell a lot of things and you want to explain a lot of things, and maybe you don't understand that it's better to focus in one character and she's going to tell to all the viewers like these feelings, no? And after this, in the edition process, it was an absolutely amazing experience, but really tough. I mean, we made like a lot of cuts, we made a lot of changes. We tried to focus at the beginning in a lot of topics, no, about all these relations between the States and Mexico. But in some point, I really think it was wonderful to work with her, because she was like really clear about what we need now, what is important for the story, not for the context or to someone to explain everything that happens between Mexico and the United States, but mostly because we want to try to talk about one woman who is fighting in one of the most difficult environments in Mexico, no? And we were like really focused at the end in that and trying to explain how is that experience for her, no? I don't know, Paul, if you want to add something.
Well, I think with the film, we didn't want to rob our Ana Lorena of agency. I mean, there's so many documentaries and films out there where, you know, people are reduced to victims or demons. And so we wanted to be very careful. We had so much material to work with. So how do you know, we thought about it a lot. How do you let Ana Lorena's story come through in these amazing observational scenes, but also, you know, not lose the context, because the context is so important, which explains the structural problems that further creates more problems. So the takeaway that we wanted our audience to have was to really question their own complicity in not fighting back against problematic narratives, perspectives, and rhetoric. And to do that, we have to be true to Ana Lorena's story. And what Rodrigo and Elpida did was like put themselves, you know, day in and day out in these situations where Ana was just essentially like collecting bodies, you know, out every few hours or so, more bodies would pile up. And we didn't want the horrors of that to take away also from the very real work and sacrifice that she was putting in. So not to minimize her as the victim, or the people in Juarez and Mexicans as victims. So yeah, I'm just very, very proud of what we've managed to pull through together. And a lot of the credit goes to Rodrigo and Elpida and the relationship that they have with Ana Lorena, because without that trust and bond between filmmaker and subject and participant, whatever it is in the edit room, you won't be able to recreate it. So thank you, Rodrigo and Elpida.
For me, as for the author of artist that script, there was a really difficult to find the balance, you know, because the final series must be shocked, must be educational, must be interesting also for parents and for the teenagers, and find this balance that cost maybe 20 or 21 versions of treatment just for this short TV series. And I just think maybe the final is success, because if it's not, if the TV series is bad, I should not be here. So that's it.
You all talked a little bit about impact, what the story that you created, how it had an impact on yourself, or how you wanted it to impact other people. Jaroslav, you were just talking about how you guys made this series for teens, and you wanted to make it educational. And so I'd love to know, for your story, how did that story impact you as you move forward in your filmmaking and in your writing? And how do you want it to impact others as well?
With our film, I suppose we talked a lot about Nightcrawler, the Jake Gyllenhaal film. And that was something that I think it really blew my mind when I watched it, because it's this movie that follows an anti-hero. It's an anti-hero success story. This horrible, horrible guy who does horrible, horrible things. And in the end, rather than kind of being taught a lesson, which is typically what happens in films, he wins. And it kind of shocked me, and it was so entertaining when I watched it. And so I know that that was kind of a bit of an inspiration for this short film, that we really wanted to do an anti-hero success story. And I kind of think that it's kind of given me some new ideas as a writer in terms of, you know, being creative with our characters and not treating our audiences as being silly and needing to be force-fed, you know, certain information. And I think some of the early feedback that we got on the short was that it was almost like we were condoning bad behavior. But I think that if we treat our audiences as smart and as knowing right from wrong, which most people do, we can, you know, really be creative with our storytelling and our characters. And, you know, we can write about bad people doing bad things. We can
trust that the audience has the correct moral compass to go, shouldn't be like that person.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's something that we've taken from this short, is to be a little bit more brave in terms of, you know, what we do with our characters, and trust in the fact that people are smart and people know right from wrong, and that we shouldn't be too frightened, especially in this day and age, to kind of push the boundaries a little bit with what we do. So yeah.
A through line for me was, am I my brother's keeper? Throughout the writing of the movie, and then even in the directing of it, and also in the editing of it as well, is that like when the actors would be like, "What is my motivation?" I'm like, "Am I my brother's keeper?" And I'm like, they were like always like, "What does that mean?" But like, it's basically like if we look out for one another, we can get through this. That's my interpretation of it, but as everyone else's interpretation is different. And that's what I brought in the collaborative process of understanding, like, what the many interpretations that we could get from "Am I my brother's keeper?" And when I showed it to my friends for the first time, they were like, and I said, "What did you get out of it?" And they just like word vomited a bunch of stuff, and it all had to do with like codependency of like codependency. And I was like, oh, that's like good, because I like what I was trying to relay on the page, in the editing room, and the directing kind of conveyed. And I was like very satisfied that the friend who I gave this to wasn't on set, didn't have any familiarity with the project at all, got my my through line statement. And I felt that was very impactful for me.
So for me, in terms of how the making of this film affected me, I think it had a profound effect. I think it kind of solidified what I had been feeling in terms of like my approach to stories. Like I frequently talk about social justice issues, but with this film, I took an approach of starting with the characters and kind of getting to know them and getting into the world before we get into deeper, darker stuff. And so I think that is really something I want to carry forward. And also just seeing how touched people have been by the film, and just understanding, I guess, like, again, I kind of sensed this, and I felt it a little bit before, but just really feeling with this, how much a film can move somebody, and like hearing from everybody else today, like, you know, whether it's a doc or a narrative, I think film really has the power to create empathy and create different perspectives and really move people emotionally. So I think this film, I really, really felt the impact on the audience. And it also just kind of showed me, like, you know, I feel confident in my ability to do like this vibe. And then, you know, wanting to progress as a filmmaker and writer director into the next one, and kind of take what I thought worked in this and then expand upon that and keep pushing myself to tell more dynamic stories.
We had like a lot of doubts about doing like this kind of story, because in Mexico it's very difficult to talk about like the police or all these units behind the police, because there's like a lot of corruption, there's like a lot of difficulties with them. And it's true, I mean, and when we were like following them, we could understand and show and film all this. But it was also very important for us to understand that, to have like a bigger picture here, no? That Mexico is not alone in all this business. And there's like this sentence that there's a little bit of topic, no? But there's a lot of people that say this in Mexico, that like poor Mexico is so far from God and so close to the United States. And it's quite symbolic, no? Because that's what happened in the north, in the border between the two countries. And you could understand, and that was what happened to us, that most of these people who work in the police and most of these people who work in the narco, for example, they became from the same kind of neighborhoods. They had like the same issues when they were young. I mean, the poverty, all the difficulties without opportunities. There's a lot of violence, no? And in some point, it's very crazy, no? Because they are fighting between them, they are killing each other, while, as I said before, like the profits go to the other places, no? So El Paso is full of these huge banks, as Europe or as Asia, and finally they are like laundering all this money, making like a lot of profits, while in my country is like putting most of these dead people, no? I don't know, what do you think, Bob?
No, I agree. I mean, that's part of the reason why we felt so strongly about the film. In terms of like impact for myself as a producer, you know, it just reinforced what so many of us, I feel, strongly believe in, right? Like, it's so important to work with a variety of filmmakers. And I really, really believe if you're telling any documentary, any film about immigration, about the border, about cartels, about the drug war, I mean, you have to work with filmmakers who understand nuance. And I'm so privileged to be able to work with Rodrigo Hernandez and Elpida Nicu from Mexico. I mean, it changes the story completely. So if there's anything I would like and hope, especially from the documentary industry, is that producers and production companies work, whenever you're doing stories on any of these themes and topics, work with filmmakers from the countries where the stories are at, and Latinx filmmakers, and this is specifically for immigration, and also, you know, in regards to cartels and the drug war, because the point of documentaries is to reflect reality. And what better way to reflect reality than working, you know, with a diverse and inclusive group of people. And so that is my hope in terms of impact from our film on the industry.
Well, and as I found, because I'm a children of analog, you know, I'm born in 80s. And for me, it's internet, because the major part of Marty's death is going on internet or story. I just found that it's not just about the chatting with your friends and sharing things and all this stuff. You can connect and be anyone you want. And because the internet is something like a mirror of real world, there's also the mirror of the crime, which also gonna be happened in your real world. So after we just found this about the bully, and internet is just the different tool to making a bully, like a cyber bully and all of this stuff. We just, like, no offense, but there is a great idea just to show like internet is dangerous, like with all greatness of what is it, you know.
Wow. Well, thank you all for sharing these stories and sharing them with us. This wouldn't be an awards roundtable if we didn't give you guys a chance to thank who you want to thank, recognize who you want to recognize. So I'm going to give you all just a moment to do that. I'll start with you all, Indianna and Josiah.
All right, just got some thank yous
We've
here.
got a list prepared.
We wanted to give a huge thank you to Matt Kesting and the team at Adelaide Film Festival, Kaiklu and Helpman Academy for their incredible support in financing this project. Also to our mentors, Spencer Susser, Christian Moliere, Richard Chataway, Pete Best, and Ben Brooks for all their advice and encouragement. This short wouldn't have been possible without the tireless efforts of our amazing crew, led by our super producer, Ashley Knott, and DOP, Sam Twydale. To our two leads, Brendan Rock and Jordan Cowan, you both elevated this short far beyond what we could have ever imagined. We feel super lucky to have worked with you and can't wait to do it again as soon as possible. And last but not least, to our best bud and partner in crime, John Chataway, thanks for dealing with us while we're tired and grumpy in the middle of the shoot. A huge thank you again to Austin Film Festival, and congratulations to all our fellow nominees. We can't wait to see all your incredible films throughout the festival.
And also, yeah, like we'd just like to say a huge thank you to Austin for having us back again. And in this year where, you know, it seems impossible to hold a film festival, you guys reinvented yourselves and made it happen for all of us, because it means a lot. You know, we all put in so much effort for our short films to be seen by people. So it's really incredible that you guys, reinvented yourself so that you can still make that happen for us. It definitely, it means a lot. But we will miss the barbecue this year.
Well, thank you all. And once again, congrats. Adewale, I'll jump to you.
Thank you all for having my film here. Thank you all for having me here. I feel honored to be with such great artists who I got to know through this last 30 minutes of you talking, and I'm definitely going to tune into all of your films. I would like to thank Junior. I don't know his last name, but he was the person who allowed me access to the supermarket. Without him, this film would be nothing, because that's 80% of the movie was shot there. Thank you to Isaiah Fofana, my best friend, who allowed me to shoot in his apartment, which is still love him for that to this day. The Princess Grace Foundation for recognizing my talent. Jide Okunola and Taiwo Alashe, the two main characters in this film. Thank you all for sharing your backgrounds, your Nigerian backgrounds, and adding texture to this film that I couldn't have done even in the writing of it. Thank you, Austin Film Festival, for recognizing me and awarding me. Thank you to my friends back in HASA, the Haitian American Student Association, for coming through and just being extras in my film. The college buds who turned out to be the best people. Also, I will also miss the barbecue. The barbecue is the best part, and also the free Stella on tap. I was like, oh my god, this is. And the cup. I'm gonna miss the cup of having my name engraved in a cup. I'll take it though. Thank you all so much.
Thank you and congratulations, Rodrigo and Poe.
So first of all, thank you to Austin Film Festival, not only to give us this award, but also to give us this opportunity, for Blood on Our Side. It was very important for us. I really want to thank Poe, because all the help and the push and everything that she made for us. Also, our executive producer, Fiona Lawson, she was a really good support too. And for sure, I really want to say thank you to the two main characters that that opened their doors for us, David Peinado and Ana Lorena, because you know how it is to be like a filmmaker and to have a camera behind you every day. That's why we are in the other part of the camera, because it's really difficult to be filmed every day. So really, thank you very much for them. And I'm a part of a really strange collective. We are part of a cooperative, and we are filmmakers from different parts around the world. We share everything, our work, our salary, our experience. And I want to thank to all of my partners. The name is Musungu Producciones, and it's very important for me to be part of something like this.
And I'd also like to thank Al Jazeera Witness for commissioning and supporting our film. And lastly, thank you to the jurors for giving us this award. It really means so much to us, and we're so excited that our film Blood on Our Side is world premiering at Austin this year. And And lastly, to congratulate all the filmmakers who have been invited to show their films at the festival, and can't wait to watch them all.
Yeah, so it would be impossible to thank everybody. There's over 50 people that worked on the film through all the different phases. So thank you to everybody who contributed to this film. It was a complete team effort. I need to definitely thank Gina Lau, my girlfriend. She has been there from the very beginning through film school when I was, working full time during the day and going to school at night. And then when I quit my job to become this filmmaker, she completely supported both of us. So she's been there through every film. So definitely thank you, Gina. Also, I have to thank Veronica Hogin and Cher Donaghy, the two teachers that I interviewed in writing this film. So much of it was informed by their day-to-day experiences, all the way from the title down to all the details that made it into the film. So much of that came from you. So thank you both for that. Thank you to all the parents who have been completely supportive, again, from the very beginning. Thank you to Ms. Cannon for allowing us to film this film at your school. Again, without our location, we don't even make this film. Thank you to Derek, my co-writing partner, for making me look good constantly. I appreciate all of our back and forth and drafts, so thank you, Derek. And then, of course, thank you to the entire cast and crew, and Austin and Enderby. I greatly appreciate you supporting a film like this, and for supporting me and just getting behind this film, because it ultimately will reach a larger audience because of your support, and that was our goal of making it. So thank you.
Congrats. And Jaroslav.
Well, it's impossible to thank to anyone, from the film crew, but the huge thanks is to Jan, my co-writer, to Pavel Soukup, director, and Vráťa Švajer and Jakub Rálek, which are producers, and the rest of film crew. It's a huge thanks because it's really nice work what they did. And, thank you all from Austin Festival. And sorry for my grammar.
You're good, and congratulations. Once again, congratulations to you all. Before we leave, you guys have been able to recognize who you want to recognize, and we've had a great discussion today, but I want to see if there's anything else that you would like to leave our audience or other creators with.
I could jump in real quick just to say to all the other filmmakers, regardless of the stage that you're at, listen to your heart, follow your heart, tell the stories that you really believe in, and don't let anything stop you.
Also support the youth. If you see someone who's young, who has a slight talent, give them the resources they need, and also further expose them to things that you wish you would have been exposed to at a younger age.
I'd like to add, our industry is still not very inclusive, the documentary industry in particular. So if you have a little bit of space or a platform, if you made films, all that means is to make space for others, and we will all be better for it.
We always talk about all these awards and all these projects, and we share in social media when everything is really cool, but I think it happened to all of us, all the times that they reject us a project, all the times that we couldn't have the project that we already want. But I really think that if there's something that I have to tell is that you have to be consistent and don't hesitate to try to do whatever you want to do, and that's the more important thing. And maybe we don't share every time that we fail, but for sure that all of us we fail a lot of times. And for me, the most important part is not when you are really happy and you share your feelings when you win an award. It's not to go down when you have a project rejected, or when you couldn't do whatever you want. No, you have to push in your dreams.
Yeah, similarly, I think, especially what came out of winning Austin last year was that kind of the most precious prize of all for us is confidence, because I know that's what definitely holds me back, is going, well, I'm not even going to try because everyone else is so much better than me. And, it's, so I think just putting pen to paper and kind of pushing aside any of those self-conscious thoughts is the best first step. And we're still very much starting out and learning, but that's definitely been the most beneficial thing for us is, getting this recognition from Austin Film Festival has given us that confidence that, maybe we can do this.
Yeah.
We're just
super
gonna,
thankful.
yeah, we're super thankful. We're just going to keep pushing forward. So I suppose be confident in yourself and just try.
All right. Jaroslav, anything else to add?
Maybe just stay with your dreams, because many people during the years you are developing the script will tell you the way you are doing is not right, you can do the another way, all of this stuff. But if you believe to the project, just stay with your mind and stay with your ideas, and I think that one day you will just success, because you will find the another person with the same way, the same way of the ideas, what will be the story about. And that's it.
Well, thank you all. Thank you all for joining us. And for first of all, making your films and series and sharing it with Austin Film Festival and allowing us to share with our jury and our audience. Thank you for allowing us to share these stories. I'm really excited for everyone to watch them if they haven't already. And thank you all at home for watching. Go out and watch these films during Austin Film Festival. They'll all be available through October 29th. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.